Why is it that our polytechnic sector continues to expand, while in other countries it has shrunk or they have taken the steps to eliminate theirs altogether? It's an important question because we are very different. There are a few reasons. First, there's an increasing demand from students and employers for this type of education. Approximately 1 in 3 students who opt for a polytechnic education qualify as well for admission into JC. In other words, they could have a choice between a JC and a polytechnic, and 1 in 3 who choose a polytechnic education could have gone to JCs. So there's an increasing demand. On the value of our polytechnic graduates, this is what one of the employers had to say, and I quote him. Quote, "The graduates are industry ready the very day they graduate. The polytechnics produce superb plug-and-play talents who are readily equipped with the necessary skills and knowledge demanded by the industry." Unquote. This description broadly describes the value that all our polytechnic graduates bring to the industry. So it's increasing demand, more people are going to the polytechnic. But apart from these students' choice and employers' preferences, I believe that there are other sound, fundamental reasons why a polytechnic education will be increasingly relevant for the next 2 decades. I'll confine my remarks to 2030. The first reason is that the pace of disruptive technology has increased. This is stating the obvious. We see this every day, whether it's consumer electronics. Look at how the iPhones have taken off, iPads, and even for the phones, it keeps changing. That's the nature of the marketplace. Disruptive technologies, the insurgents will try to uproot the incumbents, and in business parlance, that's a virtuous cycle. That's the way businesses are supposed to do. Either you drop costs, you commoditize, or you steal an edge because of a new technology and you have a new product and the cycle begins again. It's not only in electronics, whether it's with TV sets, computing, audio devices. It's also occurring in the ICT sector, cloud computing, open source software, IT security, and healthcare, rapid diagnostics, remote monitoring and sensing. So, as a result, the old model where you have one paper qualification, you obtain it before you start working and it's supposed to last you for the next 50 years, obviously has become less relevant. Simply because the skills that you pick up in the polytechnic, in the universities, become obsolete quicker. The second reason is that the tertiary sector itself is undergoing change globally. 2 months ago, I was in India. I spoke to the equivalent of the education minister. His name is Minister Sibal. And he said India is going to double its output of graduates by 2020. So I took note. I just made a mental calculation of what that translated to. And that basically means from 3 million graduates a year to 6 million graduates a year. Then I went to China. It was a China-ASEAN education ministers meeting. And lo and behold, Minister Yang Kui-ren stands there and proudly proclaims China is going to double its graduates by year 2020. So again, I took note, did a mental calculation. That means 8 million graduates a year. A few weeks ago, I was in the United States, and the Secretary Duncan said, we're going to increase, not double this time, but only by 50% of graduates, US. If you add it all up, what it means is that by 2020, these 3 countries alone will produce 18 million college graduates a year. 1/8. How many graduates equivalent, whether it's poly and university, does Singapore produce a year? 30,000. 8 million. 18 million. Will the industries move so fast to be able to absorb this rapid expansion of graduates in these countries? Maybe, maybe not. And if not, where will these graduates go and look for jobs? There's a global flow. What this means to me is that employers in the future, not by 2020, not by 2030, but even as soon as 2020, will expect not only paper qualifications, because there'll be many of them, but also look for employees with the relevant skills and work attitude that adds to the company. Our polytechnics are exemplars of how institutions can be responsive to a changing environment. Because the hallmark of our polytechnic education is its responsiveness to changing needs of industry. And this did not happen by chance. The very chairmen that have stood up, the board members, have all come from industry, and we have constructed it so. We have the polytechnics have systematically built up close links with industry partners so that they have very close and short loops that listen to the industry, produce good quality, practice-oriented, industry-relevant graduates who are much sought after by employers in Singapore and overseas. That is why, in the first half of 2009, even immediately after the global financial crisis, polytechnic graduates continue to remain highly employable, and close to 90% found a job within 6 months after graduation. This is in the midst, just after a severe global financial crisis. So MOE will continue to invest in our polytechnics. Earlier this year, I announced that MOE will invest up to $1 billion to increase the physical capacity of the polytechnics by 20% over the next 4 years. I know that your polytechnics are getting a little bit crowded. They were actually built for not so many students, and I thank you for bearing up with it. But as you see, when you came in, this polytechnic is also building up new infrastructure, and we are doing that for all the polytechnics to increase your build-up capacity by 20% over the next 4 years.